Hello and welcome everyone. In our second episode, we were learning some basic principles that I am confident that might have helped you to play better and win more games. In today's episode, we are going to learn some more principles that will help you play a better middle game. Let's get started. Principle number 13. Knight on rim is dim. Now what do I mean by rim? Rim means the edge of the board, that is the corner of the board. And dim means dull. So here, if we push a pawn to d5 and knight goes on the a5 square, then knight can only go to 4 squares possible. And those 4 squares at b7 he cannot go because he has his own pawn there. c6, c4 and b3 are taken care by the white pieces. So knight cannot go anywhere. Here a simple idea for white can be just push the pawn to a3 and then b4 trap the knight. The knight will have no good squares to go to. When compared to this knight, if it is in the center of the board, look at this, it covers 8 squares. It is an octopus knight. So a knight is well placed when it is placed in the center of the board rather than when it is placed in the corner of the board, because from center it can go to more number of squares possible. This is not only true in the middle game, but it can also be true in the end game. Now look at this. Black is having a knight, white is having just a pawn. Generally, this should be a draw because knight can capture the pawn and then it is a draw. But because the knight is at the edge of the board here, he can only go to 2 squares possible. And white can simply push his pawn king to f6. After moving the king to f6, he is taking control of the f7 as well as the g6 square where the knight can go. So the knight is dominated by the king. If he tries to push his king forward, the king is behind the passed pawn and will never be able to capture the pawn. And the pawn will eventually promote to a queen. Principle number 14. Do not trade bishop for a knight. Bishops and knight are worth 3 points each. But in maximum number of the games, bishops are well placed or are good pieces when compared to a knight. Because bishops are the long range pieces that can cover many squares at a time. While knight are the short range pieces, they can only go to few squares at a time. So you should avoid trading the bishop for a knight. Principle number 15. Capture towards the center. Now there are central files. D and E file are the central files. E4, D4, D5, E5 are the central squares. Whenever you have an option to capture with 2 pawns, let's say with the C pawn and with the A pawn over here, you should always capture it with the A pawn, that is towards the center, and you shouldn't be doing it with the C pawn away from the center. Going to the principle number 15, avoid double pawns. Double pawns, if you here bishop g4 and he captures your knight on the f3 square, you should not take it back with the g pawn because then it will be a double pawn. Double pawns cannot protect each other. The g pawn will never be able to now protect the f pawn, and where is this f pawn supposed to go? He is blocked by his own piece, he is blocked by his own pawn. Also, you look at this position, the king is now exposed. Here a better move is to capture with the queen. If you have an opportunity to capture with the queen, you should always go for that instead of trying to double your pawns. Rooks are well placed in the open files, and if you can get 2 of your rooks in the open file, then nothing better than that. Principle number 17. Rooks are well placed in the open files, and double rooks makes it stronger. Here the rook on the d2 is already taking care of the open file. If you play your f1 rook to d1, then your 2 rooks are powerful and will never allow the black pieces to come in the b file. I hope you have understood these few principles that we have discussed today and will help you play better games. See you in the next video. Please hit the like button. Thank you.